All right. Welcome to our English class for today. We're going to talk about present perfect versus past simple. We've seen both structures. Now we're going to learn the differences. Individually, read this text and identify simple past and present perfect forms. Put the video on pause so you have time to read. All right. So, let's identify some examples of simple past first. All right, so simple past. There are many examples, right? We have I registered. Right, simple past, good. I had. I received. Was. Right, his profile was. Right. He had. It was. We didn't know. He invited. I told. All right, now let's look at some examples of present perfect. I have always wanted. I have always been. I have heard. He has been. Whoops. Nope. There we go. We have been. Alright, so here's some examples of simple past and present perfect. Now we're going to continue and talk about the differences. Before we continue, take a minute, think about the past simple and past participle forms of the verbs in the chart. Put the video on pause and complete the chart. Alright, let's talk about the answers. There we go. Alright, so we have the past simple forms and the past participle forms. Notice that some of these verbs use ed. These are regular. Some of these verbs do not use ed. These are irregular. We're going to talk about those. Alright, we have two sentences. I have been to the USA and I went to the USA last month. The first sentence, is that present perfect or past simple? First sentence is present perfect. I have been to the USA. The second sentence is past simple. So when do we use the present perfect? Well, we use it for past experiences, and when someone is alive. Past simple is for past experiences when someone is dead. So let's look at some examples. My mother has taught martial arts before. My mother is alive. She continues doing things because she's alive. So we use present perfect. My grandmother taught martial arts. Unfortunately, my grandmother is dead. She doesn't do any more things unless she's a zombie, which I don't think she is. So we use past simple. My grandmother taught martial arts. Okay, we use present perfect to emphasize the results in the present. And past simple is used with a finished action with no result in the present. So let's look at some examples. I have bought a new house. I'm moving this month. I'm moving this month is the result in the present. For past simple, I bought a new house, but I bought it 3 years ago. There is no result in the present. I bought it, I moved into it. There's no more actions in the present, so we use past simple. Alright, present perfect is used with an unfinished time word. Simple past is used with a finished time word. So, an example, I've worked on my research today. Today continues. Today is unfinished. Right? So we use present perfect. However, yesterday, I worked on my research yesterday. Yesterday is a finished time word. Yesterday is completed. It is finished, so we use simple past. We use present perfect with unfinished actions that started in the past and continue to the present. Simple past is used with finished actions. So, for example, I've taught present perfect. This action started in the past, and it continues to the present. I still teach present perfect in the present. So, we use present perfect. Finished actions. I taught past simple. We can imagine that I taught it once or twice only in the past. I do not continue to teach it in the present. So we use past simple. I taught past simple. So what are some key words we often use with present perfect versus past simple? For present perfect, we use just, already, up to now, until now, or till now, ever or never, not yet or yet, so far, lately and recently. With past simple, we use yesterday, ago, in 1990, or in a specific year, the other day, last month, last year, last week, last Tuesday, last Saturday, last January, last September. So let's form the past simple. We have regular verbs and irregular verbs. Some examples of regular verbs are love, loved, learn, learned, watch, watched. In each example, we use ed. This is why they're regular. Ed endings mean it's past simple. Pretty simple, right? Alright, now we have the tricky irregular verbs. These are more difficult because they don't use ed. We have to memorize them. So eat, ate. See, saw. Do, did. Be, was or were. In past simple, we use an auxiliary verb just like with present simple. Only in past simple, the auxiliary verb is did. Now let's look at an affirmative sentence. I did my homework yesterday. Remember that in affirmative, we don't use an auxiliary verb. In this sentence, the word did is the main verb. There is no auxiliary verb for affirmative sentences. Now let's look at a negative sentence. I didn't do my homework yesterday. In past simple, didn't is always the auxiliary verb. And it's followed by the main verb. In this example, the main verb is do. So subject, auxiliary verb, main verb. Alright, question form. Did I do my homework yesterday? The first word is the auxiliary verb, did, then the subject, then the main verb, do. Alright. We have the auxiliary verb didn't, and the auxiliary verb did. Alright, present perfect also has regular verbs with ed endings, right? Like laugh, laughed, work, worked, and hate, hated. Pretty simple. Then we have the irregular verbs. We have to memorize them. See, seen. Come, come. Do, done. Be, been. Alright, in present perfect, the auxiliary verb is have or has. We always use the auxiliary verb, even in affirmative. I have worked hard lately. We have the subject, we have the auxiliary verb, and we have the main verb in past participle. In a negative sentence, we can make the sentence negative by using not. I haven't worked hard lately. Or if it's he, she, or it, she hasn't worked hard lately. And in question form, right, the auxiliary verb is first. Have I worked hard lately? The auxiliary verb is have, the subject is I, the past participle of the main verb is worked. We always use auxiliary verbs in present perfect, even in affirmative sentences. Alright, so we have a couple of sentences here. take a minute and decide which form of the verb in parentheses you will use. Present perfect or past simple. Alright, sentence 1 should be, we haven't danced salsa since we left Cali in 2007. This is present perfect because it describes an action that started in the past and continues to the present. The action in the past is we left Cali in 2007. In sentence 2, we used past simple. My dad didn't study chemistry in school. Now, let's look at chemistry in school. I imagine my dad is not still in school today. He was in school in the past, only in the past. So because this is an action that is only in the past, we use past simple. All right, so your homework is to complete the sentences for the other parts up to number 6. Bring your answers to the next class, and your teacher will review them with you. That's it. Thank you very much.